Welcome back, fight fans. Hope you had a great, refreshing off week. I know Maddie and I needed it to take a shower to clean off some of the piss that came from that main event between Alex Perez and Jamal Hill back at UFC 300. But overall, unbelievable night there. Unbelievable line of fights. I think it definitely lived up to the hype. Now we are here in the post UFC 300 world, maybe paying the consequences for it a little bit. But glad you are here today to preview UFC Vegas 91 with me. My name's Austin Swaim. You guys may know me from FanDuel Research. And I'm here with my man, the myth, the legend, the long shot legend, as I like to introduce him on this show. Lived up to his name a little bit recently. Matty Tanner. I got to bring him in and ask him that same old question. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm good, bro. I'm in Carolina right now, so apologies for the low quality video. But I like some long shots on the main card here. I don't like a ton on the prelims, but I'm going to ask you some questions when we get to some of these. We get to like the last 3 to 5 fights here towards the end of the night. Actually, there's a couple good ones right in the middle of this card too.
Yeah. For sure. We're going to get into the dive in here. Some of these fights are total guesses. I think it's like the very bottom of some of these divisions that we'll talk about. Unfortunately, we'll probably see a lot of losers on Saturday ending up getting cut off the roster, which is always it does add a little bit of excitement. Maybe you have like some wild comebacks, guys really selling out for the finish, things like that. But the name value a little bit lacking. Maddie and I will do our best, and I love that he's got a little bit of leans. This isn't the strongest gambling card for me of the year, so I can't wait to hear what Maddie has to say. So we'll dive right in here and break it down here. 13 fights on the card. First one among them at lightweight. The favorite is our friend Maheshate, who we've now seen in 3 appearances, taking on UFC vet. We've seen a whole lot more than that in Gabriel Benitez. Right now, Maheshate minus 205 favorite. Honestly, expected worse for the first fight on the card. This one not horrible, given that we've seen both of these guys have moments as recently as last year. Maddie, any thoughts on this lightweight opener here?
Yeah. I like Maheshate. I always pronounce that name wrong. But I remember I was live at the Steve Garcia fight that was back in 2022.
Yep.
And I had Steve Garcia in that fight, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And he was winning like convincingly in that first round, I believe, right? And then he got finished. Yeah.
So Maheshate finished Steve pretty quick in that one. I want to say it was just within the first couple of minutes or so. The tough part for Steve there, you and I both like Steve. That was at lightweight, and now he's dropped to featherweight and become a monster, finishing Chase Hooper among others since dropping down there. Maheshate, that's definitely the feather in his cap that's kept him on the roster for sure.
That's right. I was thinking of the other Steve Garcia fight.
Right. Shailin Nerdembeka. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. Damn it. Yeah. No, I mean, what are the odds in that right now on this one?
So Maheshate is minus 205. I have laid action on this fight embarrassingly. I think it's a little bit of the data guys versus the film guys in this one. I really think it's split down the middle. I'll spoil it here and just kind of give you my lean. I like Gabriel Benitez here. I look at Maheshate and how he's performed per minute, especially in a striking match against Rafa Garcia. Much better wrestler, has his issues at distance. Rafa Garcia beat him up. And then in his next fight out, Maheshate, no match for Slava Claus. I don't hold that too far against him, given that Slava Claus is a really great striker. Maheshate himself doesn't really bring much of a wrestling threat, which is typically how you get through Slava Claus. But still a little concerning that just last year he goes through that fight, May of last year, knocked down 3 times, has that attrition, now facing a guy in Benitez who we just saw go toe-to-toe with Jim Miller. Like I thought Jim Miller would win a little bit more convincingly over Benitez than he did. Ended up getting third round before he found that submission. Like, I look at Benitez and his advantages in this fight. 62% striking defense is super responsible. And Maheshate, 26% accuracy overall. I think he's going to have a hard time finding him. I really kind of see Maheshate as kind of like an early blink or bust type of proposition in this fight, which is very possible. Given Benitez's former featherweight, not the best chin in the world, but Benitez 10 wins by submission. He's the first fighter that Maheshate has faced that averages over 0.5 submission attempts per 15. Interesting note there. And we don't have props on this guy yet, but like I'm leaning in that direction. I saw it start to close a little bit, so I nabbed Benitez at plus 170.
Interesting. Yeah, I just have my concerns about the chin, bro. Other than that, I'm with you.
Absolutely. I mean, It's a chin bet, and I'm on that side, so maybe the audience and you do everything responsible.
Well,
Take my
he did make it to halfway through round 3 with Jim Miller, and that was a neck crack.
yeah,
David Onama's got good power.
yeah. Billy, and then Billy
Sadiq
Q back in his
Yusuf
prime,
is a really tough fight.
Yeah, like I mean, I think a lot of the guys that he's lost to are pretty forgivable, like in a vacuum. It's just now a question of he's now 35. The attrition is even worse. Like the chin is the most obvious concern. Maybe I hedge out my activity with Maheshate round 1 KO. I'm guessing it's not going to be that long. But if I could break even, if that ends up being the case, it'd probably be best for me. So,
For sure.
I think it's a very clear fight. Like Maheshate, if you tell me this gets to the second round, I'm going to be doing tap dances about my Benitez ticket, but it is a definite question of whether or not it'll get there. So, any more thoughts on this fight before we move on? Because it's kind of
let's move on. I don't love that fight, honestly. I'm gonna wait to see the prop numbers though, because they're not up yet.
Yeah, that's kind of the quality of this card. We don't even have props on some of the early prelims yet. Now, we do in this next one, actually. Ivana Petrovic taking on Na Liang at women's flyweight. Both of these ladies still searching for their first UFC win. Petrovic, I think a lot was expected of her. She was a favorite over Luana Carolina in her debut. Did not end up going her way. Na Liang ended up being the first pro finish for JJ Aldridge in Singapore late last year. So neither of these ladies in superb form. Petrovic right now minus.
Forget that fight, by the way. It was like 5 a.m, and I hit round 2 finish on JJ Aldridge. I'll never forget because I felt like such a degenerate, bro. It was like 5 a.m, and I was celebrating a 6-1 hit on women's MMA. Crazy.
And we kind of have the same thing here, right? Where it's like we were celebrating JJ Aldridge. Petrovic, the largest favorite on the card right now, bro, minus 550. Which
Bro,
seems
round 2 is an auto bet.
I think I don't disagree. When I looked in here, and now we're gonna peel these numbers back together as we obviously do. I look at Ivana Petrovic in this fight. She is minus 195 to win inside the distance. So I think you've got a 5-minute sweat here. You look at Na Liang's history. She had a second round knockout loss to Ariane Carnelossi. Second round, as you mentioned, to JJ Aldridge and celebrated in degenerate fashion, right? Like and the first one was just kind of a knockout at distance by Silvana Juarez Gomez. So maybe 1-2 is the direction here. It feels like you and I get suckered all the time into like this woman is in a good position. Like the Melissa Mullins fight was ridiculous. Like I couldn't have been any more wrong on my read in that fight. But the thing about Na Liang, she was unsuccessful at strawweight, moves up, seeds the first career pro finish for Aldridge. Petrovic had a little bit of hype behind her, and the thing that I like is that she's not facing Carolina. Carolina, really good 76% takedown defense. We just saw her win the Stoliarenko fight with her takedown defense. Like I feel like Luana's a really bad matchup in a vacuum for Petrovic. Petrovic is going to be a lot bigger. She's going to be a lot stronger. She's kind of a ground fighter. She secures submissions. 3 of her 4 Aries FC performances were wins via finish. Like I know that's a hefty ITD number. I'm not going to lay minus 195, but I do think I'm going to take a stab at some of those round props just like you.
Yeah, so Na Liang, bro, honestly, the round 1 of the JJ Aldridge fight, you got to go back and watch that because it's really got me looking at the Na Liang round 1 finish at plus 1,300 right now because she comes out guns blazing, bro. And you just never know. Like she's gonna put herself in danger, but she's gonna be aggressive as shit. And I might take a stab at that for like 1/10 of a unit, maybe a quarter unit max, and then I might take Ivana to win in round 2.
Okay.
I really might do that. Her to win round 2 is plus 300. Obviously, the risk there is Ivana wins in round 1, and then I'll lose both bets, but. I'm not going to play round 1, 2. Round 1's plus 230. I mean, I guess I could do that. Play round 1 for both girls, and if Ivana wins in round 1, I pretty much break even if I have a round 1-2 bet and a round 1 bet.
Yeah, a little weird here that when you look at the individual methods, and this carries through to the rounds, submission plus 190, KO, TKO plus 200. The reason why I think that's interesting is that all 3 of Na Liang's defeats in UFC by knockout, or I guess ground and pound, if you will, not submitted yet submission is shorter here. I was going to tell you, I thought we'd get good value on a submission because Liang hadn't been submitted yet. it looks like odds makers are kind of ahead of us, and they've made it a short favorite.
Because the fight, all of her fights pretty much go to the ground.
Right. Interesting.
I actually think that number is very telling. I think it's telling us what to do here.
I think so too, dude. I'm on the same exact page.
I'm probably gonna have her in a submission leg because there's another one I want to get your opinion on later in the card.
Okay, I could definitely be down for that. Like I was going to talk to you about. We love just from a value perspective. If we have a ground fighter that's won a couple in a row by knockout, submission is right there, and it's probably just going to be not bet down because of wiki capping, and that's like something we talk about all the time. It's weird we spend so much fight on this, but it sounds like we're aligned. I'm kind of thinking like round 1-2 sub here. It feels a little clear, but it's also women's MMA. Now, the thing that I wanted to get your take on, decision plus 320, that is the divisional trends here. Like, I don't feel like that's a long enough number for me to expect Na Liang to survive into a third round for the first time.
Yeah, I can't do it based on what I've seen, bro.
Agreed. All righty. So Maddie and I kind of aligned, and I'm so glad Maddie and I have been like somewhat in sequence, like, because I'm very split. Like, funny enough, Clint McLean, who is here on the Home of Fight YouTube as well, I love and respect his work. He and I are on every single opposite side this week. We don't agree on one bet, not one. Which is just kind of what we're dealing with at the Apex. And I'm curious to get your thoughts on this next one as well here, because it's a short notice fight. Wouldn't be the Apex card without one. James Liontop coming off the Contender Series, taking on Chris Padilla. Now, this was originally scheduled to be Gabe Green cutting to lightweight for the first time. One of my favorite nincompoops who decided to fight Brian Battle by charging right at him, but Gabe Green out. So Chris Padilla, regional vet from California, stepping in, going to try to make 155 on Friday. Not a ton of data on either of these guys. I was curious if you had anything here, because I have a bit of a lean of value, but I'm a little struggling with a little bit with this.
Please, I've got nothing for you on this fight.
So I guess my general sentiment is I don't think Liontop is very good. Like when he's going the distance with Malik Lewis, who is a guy Trevor Peek finished in the second round pretty easily. Lewis has about 6 minutes of cardio. That expired against Liontop after a first round that he arguably won. I don't know how much I took from his performance on the Contender Series, and I was all ready to be all over Gabe Green as a short underdog here because I knew what I was getting.
Yeah,
Padilla a little bit harder of a sell, even at a much larger number. Like he could very well could close 3-1 here, but he's been finished regionally. He's been through up and downs. Now I will say he's made a stop through Bellator. He just knocked out Justin James via ground and pound. If you remember James when he was in the UFC, there's a decent enough measuring stick that I don't think James Liontop should be minus 375 against anybody. That's my general thesis here. As I'm leaning like there is Padilla value. I don't think I'll get to the window on that, though. I think maybe more so I'd be looking at, like, fading a hefty inside the distance number if there is one. But we don't have props on this guy, and I don't really have an interest to bet it as it sits right here.
By the way, I was looking at Ivana's Instagram. What do you see there? This little rear naked choke.
Hey, dude, if it's in the kit, that is very helpful.
It's the first thing I saw on her page, bro.
Yeah.
Like, look at that. Look at.
By the way, that picture was crystal clear.
Leonna's neck right there, bro. She's just waiting to choke it.
Yeah, I think we're on sub there, bro. I absolutely.
I think it's smacking, bro. I really.
Yeah, I think it's smacking too. But it sounds like you don't have a lot on this fight. I don't really either. So I mean, we could kind of move past it. We don't even have props, so like I don't really have much on it. Think we might be in the same boat here in the next fight up. Women's strawweight, Ketlin Souza taking on Maric Mann. Souza. You look back, her debut has not aged poorly because she was knee barred, I guess Z-locked, whatever you want to call it, in a couple minutes by Karine Silva. Mm-hmm. Silva has since entered the rankings. Maric Mann takes a short notice appearance against Josephine Knudsen in her debut. It goes just about as poorly as you could possibly expect. So I think definitely odds makers are a little bit more forgiving of Souza's performance when she's a minus 350 favorite here. Still understand some trepidation about laying that sort of number. Curious if you have a lean like in a direction in this fight, because I do. It's not super strong, but like there's not a lot to work with here either.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I do like Ketlin Souza here. I think maybe decision. It's not the best number in the world, minus 120. But no, I just think Mann showed nothing in that last fight. I mean, she landed 8 significant strikes.
Yes. The punching bag one way traffic. I felt as I was watching that fight, holding Josephine Knudsen inside the distance. Knudsen's aggression was the reason why Mann survived. It wasn't her ability to get out of bad positions. It wasn't her ability to hang tough. Knudsen wasn't really doing anything, especially in the third round, just not taking any chances. I could see Souza being more aggressive here. Like when you told me points is minus 120, first thing I looked, what's her inside the distance number? Plus 250. I know Maric Mann is tough, man, but she's also pretty freaking bad. 31% striking defense, 16% takedown defense. Like she was finished by Bruna Brazil via head kick on the Contender Series.
Mm-hmm.
Souza's got a couple of regional submissions. I don't know how I feel about her grappling. It's kind of unfair to make a definitive stance one way or another just from the Silva fight. But I'm kind of leading like a Souza beating here that may end up turning into an early finish. Maybe I pull out round 2, round 3 here rather than play the inside distance because Souza round 2 plus 1,000, round 3 plus 1,400. And Mann's tough, bro. She's got 5 minutes of getting beat in her. I actually think as we talk through this, I have an angle where I'm going to sprinkle on this fight just because I think Souza is going to be so far ahead of Mann in a technical perspective.
I was going to say, bro, what do you think about a round 2-3 KO prop on her? Round 2's 14-1 and round 3's 19-1. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a little weird that those numbers are so distant, but I think some of that is we saw Mann getting absolutely torched, and it's like she hung on to the end. I think if Knudsen would have just hammered away with fists, like I mean, she could have got the ref to stop the fight whether she was unconscious or not. She just never really emptied the tank. Whereas you look at Souza, 8 pro wins via KO, just 1 by submission. So I'm leaning knockout. I don't think there's a ton of grappling expertise there. But I'd rather do this than even think about like parlaying her money line or anything like that, because the one concern I would have here is some wrestling defense when Maric Mann has shown that's her style. She was able to land a few in the Contender Series. Like it's not super efficient, but it's there if Souza can't defend it. So I'd rather take small swipes like this.
Yeah, 100%, bro. I think I got to sprinkle around 2-3 KO there. That number is crazy.
It is crazy when I feel like it's her path to winning inside the. And you know who I did this with? I did this with remember Yasmin Haragi taking on Sam Hughes in Mexico? And like we had the altitude in that fight, and even though it didn't hit, I loved my process because of how far ahead in that Haragi was. Rather than pay minus 140 for a decision or whatever it was, he was so far ahead of Hughes that very easily, if she had stepped on the gas a little, she might have been able to found the finish. And we're playing probabilities, and I think it is there that we could get a late stoppage.
100%. I like that, bro.
Hey, this card's working for me. I was so looking forward to coming into the lab and talking with you because like I'm like.
I got something I like in the next one a lot, by the way.
Okay, and you texted me about this, by the way. Yeah. I'm already on the money line of the side you texted me about, so I'm going to fully hear you out here. Kyle Machado taking on Dontel Mays. Didn't really give away which side I'm on because this fight's a pick'em basically right now. Kyle Machado minus 115 on FanDuel. It is heavyweight. We've seen Mays quite a bit more. Machado dropped his UFC debut to Mick Parkin, which I don't think is generally embarrassing in a vacuum. I got a lot of good stuff from a data perspective on Machado, but let me hear what your angle is here and why you believe it is.
Yeah, I like the Machado side here for sure. I think the money line's a good price. Minus 115. I think he has more ways to win. I think Dontel Mays, like, he's looked a little better in his last couple fights. Like the Andre Arlovski fight, I didn't expect him to get a KO there. The Nascimento fight was relatively close. But I just think Caio has more ways to win. I really think the submission prop is live. Like he in the Mick Parkin fight, he outstruck him 76-39. He lost by unanimous decision because of the takedowns. But I think this, Dontel Mays, I believe, is lost by submission multiple times.
He has, and one of them was just Cyril Gane, which is embarrassing in its own right.
Yeah. So I just think the number is fucking asinine. Plus 950. If this fight hits the ground, I'm getting 9.5 to 1 on a sub here.
Yeah.
And the guy who has the clearly better jiu-jitsu skills, like, I think it's a no-brainer, bro.
Yeah, I don't hate that angle at all, especially given what we've seen from Mays in UFC. Now, the submission record on Machado is a little thin. He's got a couple of arm bars regionally, but he's a
Mhm.
guy I really like in general, Matty. And like, if you're taking a long dart on that in a fight that I really like him to win, I don't hate it. Like, Parkin is a guy that is too well rounded. Training with Aspinall, we've seen Parkin get a sub himself, like you said. Like he wasn't going to be able to pull that on him, but maybe on a guy like Dontel Mays that has shown
Yeah.
some of these weaknesses before. It's going to come down to, I think Mays might be the stronger guy in some of these clinch exchanges, but he's just generally unproductive. You look at Mays, less than a takedown per 15 minutes, less than 4 significant strikes landed per minute. He just doesn't get a lot done. Lost at distance to Augusto Sakai. Like, you look at where Dontel Mays has had success recently. He knocked out a billion-year-old Andrei Arlovsky, and then took down Josh Parisian, was able to get him out of there with ground and pound. But the
Mhm.
takedown defense is a thing for Parisian. It's not for Caio Machado. 82% overall. That's through a Contender Series appearance where his opponent was just trying to take him down over and over again. That was what Parkin was trying to do over and over again. I feel like Mays is a little bit more willing to play with Machado at distance, and that's where I'm so excited about him. Plus 4.70 striking success rate. Has not recorded a knockdown yet, so I don't know if he's got plus power for this division, but I
Yeah.
think at worst he wins on the cards. I don't hate a submission angle given Mays losing that way, but I wouldn't be surprised by a TKO. I think he's 29. I think he's getting better. He's a really interesting guy in this heavyweight division for me. Even though he was kind of being thrown to the wolves on the Contender Series, most people expected he would lose to Saflarski as like a plus 300 underdog. He ended up coming out of there, and he's really looked good against Parkins. So he's a guy that I want to buy potentially
Yeah.
for his UFC win here.
Agreed.
Cool. Alrighty. I mean, like, yeah, I don't have a specific lean on method there. Like I think if you just get a pick 'em on the money line, I think that's just really desirable itself. Like I don't think I know enough about him to be confident picking a specific outcome, but I don't think that's a bad sniff by you for a 10-1 proposition, basically.
Yeah.
So we'll move forward here just to keep things moving, because at the end of the day, Maddie and I don't have a ton of data to work with on any of these guys, and it doesn't really change in this next fight up. Another lightweight showdown here. Michal Figlak taking on Austen Hubbard. I'm sure I butchered Figlak's name already. But I did not butcher my co-name Austen Hubbard. We've seen him in UFC before. Figlak a minus 178 favorite here could be a little bit surprising. This is actually a place where I'm not dissenting from a lot of folks, but curious if you had a different read than me here in this fight between a couple of lightweights really barely hanging onto the roster.
Yeah. I'm not high on Austin Hubbard at all.
Okay.
Um, that doesn't really tell you much. So. What are the betting odds right now? Hold on.
So Figlak is minus 178, Hubbard is plus 144. Like, I don't disagree with you. Like, when you say I'm not high on Hubbard, I don't think he does anything exceptionally well. But in my opinion, his well-roundedness might be what carries him here, because he's got a plus 0.46 striking success rate. It's decent with decent striking efficiency, 46%, 56% D. And then he can wrestle a little bit. 1.55 takedowns per 15, 52% accuracy. The bugaboo with him got submitted by Kurt Holobaugh, got submitted by Joe Selecki, I think there was one other submission that I was missing there as well. I think it's interesting Figlak has no pro wins via submission. To me, that to me feels like after Faris Siam took Figlak down 3 times, I think Hubbard can get his wrestling going, control minutes here, and survive without that submission threat there. I
Yeah.
would line this fight closer to a pick'em. So I've been watching the Hubbard number. It's still going up. I haven't placed a bet yet, but he will be on my card on a money line perspective. I think Thud Hubbard can return to the winner's circle here, just because I don't trust Figlak's wrestling defense, and I don't really see the offensive upside in what I thought was a better matchup for him against Zayam, who's more of a striker.
Yeah. I would maybe play Hubbard by decision. He's plus 260.
Yeah.
I can maybe get there on that outcome. It gives me a little more of a little better of a number there, but I don't know, man. I don't know if I can even take him at plus 140.
Yeah, I'm just curious. This fight's minus 196 to go the distance. Tend to lean underdogs when that's the case, if odds makers are expecting length, especially with judging. Now, the thing we've seen is wrestling hasn't been rewarded with judging on the near basis that it
Yeah.
was. I I really have a hard time. I do like that Hubbard by decision number. I'm with you. I certainly prefer it to his KO. We haven't seen a UFC submission yet, so I'd forget that. In fact, Hubbard's only UFC finish was when Max Roskopf quit on the stool. Like he told his corner going into the third round that he was quitting and he was done and he was cut by UFC shortly after that. So Hubbard hasn't even finished anybody inside the octagon. His opponent took himself out. So I'm with you. I like the points prop here if you think Austin's going to come out ahead.
Yeah.
So we'll keep the good vibes rolling, man. Maybe I can convince you to be with me in this next fight, which is a little bit more of a contrarian opinion that I've got. It is a couple of bantamweights that I was actually able to model. My model, I was able to dust it off for the first time in this fight here between Victor Henry and Ronnie Yahya, a couple of bantamweights over that magical age of 35 that I tried to talk about in this division. So maybe not title aspirations here, but it is a good veteran scrap. Get it done in very different ways. Maddie, was curious if this is one of those fights that maybe you had a specific lean on.
Are you on Ronnie Yahya?
I think he's pretty good value at his number at plus 340. I wish I had gotten it at plus 360 or whatever it was coming back earlier.
I was looking at Ronnie Yahya by points is plus 700. Is that crazy?
That's ridiculous. We just found that out together. I've got Yahya by points. Let me check here. About 28% of the time. So if you translate that to probability, that's plus 257. So like that, I show a lot of value in that. I've got this fight 78.6% likely to go the distance. And look, I'm just speaking from experience here. When Victor Henry fought Rafael Assunção, I was all over Henry. I said he'll outpoint him with his strikes. He'll be able to avoid getting submitted by Assunção, who's a very good grappler himself in UFC. And the latter was true. The problem is he gave up way too much control time. He lost the second and third round to Assunção, and he lost the fight. And I think these odds are way too steep that it doesn't happen again when he showed those weaknesses against what was a near identical matchup. It was Assunção at 41 years old. Here's Ronnie Yahya at 39. Like, it feels like the same type of matchup where we're laying another huge Henry number. I don't think he covers it. I think Yahya point spread might be a decent play here, like plus 3.5.
Because Henry doesn't have any finishes.
Yeah, I think he's just going to be around,
Yeah, I like that. I think you got to play Yahya by decision just on pure principle here.
Yeah. What's Henry by points by chance?
125.
Plus 125?
Yeah.
I'm showing a little value there. It probably means that I should bet the fight to go by decision, but do I feel like laying what is it? Fight to go the distance. Do I feel like laying it's about a pick 'em. I think I might want to lay that when I've got it at 78.6% of the time. Like who are they projecting to get the finish there? Because Yahya overall he's been pretty durable. Like I don't hold it
maybe the submission for Yahya.
Well, that's what I've got as the most likely finishing path. I've got it about 14% of the time. So
he does have a shitload.
Yeah, he's the UFC bantamweight.
He's got like 11 subs in the UFC.
Yeah, he's the all-time UFC bantamweight sub leader at 7.
Yeah.
So he's got the divisional record.
Yeah, that's fucking wild.
I don't think sub decision is probably
plus 850. Why? That is crazy. The guy has 11 subs in the UFC. Get him at plus 850 to get a sub.
It's funny. His money line's plus 340. His submission points line is plus 390. So odds makers are basically telling you there's no shot that he gets the here. That does go with his tendencies. Like he's not a ground and pound guy, but like I think I'd rather just
23 to 1. I need a Paul Craig fucking TKO on the ground.
I mean, we've seen it before because like you can get arm injuries as TKOs. Like, can you imagine if you hit that, especially like to a specific round? Like if you went 2-3, like 2-3 KOs probably playing close to 50 to 1. If
it is 50 to 1, dude, all 3 rounds are 50 to 1. That's crazy.
I mean, it's just so against his tendencies. 1.9 submission attempts per 15 is a lot of volume. Like, the way Henry didn't let up a submission attempt to Assunção, though. That was something I noticed as well in that fight. I think it's why I do like that points number like you. That's way too long. I would guess that's a vast majority of his win equity is via decision.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I think a lot of people look at it. Victor Henry's a guy who beat Raoni Barcelos. He was decently close to Javid Basharat before the nut shot heard around the world, right? I feel like they just think Henry is better than Yahya and in a vacuum, I agree. But given I've already seen Victor struggle in this type of matchup, like there is no
Yeah.
shot. And by the way, we've seen it. When I modeled this on Sunday, Henry was minus 670. He is now minus 470. So that number's come down a lot as people maybe have come to their senses a bit that Henry is not so prohibitive in this spot.
Yeah.
I think you need finishing equity to be prohibitive in UFC, and it's just
Yeah.
not a lot of that without the finishes, you know.
Yeah.
So, I did talk you into Yaya a little bit. I never
Yeah.
would have expected those props to be that high, bro. I never would have expected that in a million years.
Yeah.
But we'll move on here, and I think this is the first fight on the main card. I think that's the featured prelim. Main card starts at 6 this weekend. I want to say Uros Medic taking on Tim the Dirty Bird Means. Maddie, you've had a pretty good time targeting Tim Means in fights so far. You sent me
No,
something.
because I had the Fialho fight got me off track. I don't think I had him in the Fialho fight.
Oh,
I had the round 2 submission in the Alex Moreno fight that paid massive.
yep.
But man, I just think Tim Means is done, bro. I think the Andre Fialho fight is confusing us. Like he 2-1 him in strikes and got the round 3 finish. But it's like it's just so tough. I mean, he's on a 3-fight skid before that, but they're all decent guys, man. It's Kevin Holland, Max Griffin, Alex Morono. Like a part of me thinks Tim Means is decent plus money here, but I just don't really trust him to be fresh enough. And Medic had a nasty finish, bro. And then he went up against Orlabai, however you say his name. That dude's a monster, bro.
Yeah, the mystery man.
That dude, I hammered him last minute because I knew something was up there. I was like, I know this dude's legit. Like he came in on short notice and he was a favorite, and I looked at his history. I was like, this dude's legit.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's the number right now?
And so Medic is minus 325. Tim Means is plus 250. Like in general, I've been on both of these guys quite a bit, so I think I have a good feel for both of them and their strengths and their weaknesses. Like, I mean, I'll spoil it. The highest individual result I've ever seen in my model came this week, where I had Medic minus 130 by knockout. It's just because Tim Means his striking defense isn't amazing, and he's shown a lot of attrition with his chin, right? He's been dropped in recent fights. Now, the Andre Fialho fight was different, but he was dropped by Max Griffin, had the Daniel Rodriguez fight that didn't go his way. Like,
Yeah.
and now Tim's 40, and my model bakes that in as attrition, whereas Medic is right in his prime at 30. I really like Uros, 60% striking accuracy, 58% defense. Like he really lit up Matt Semmelsberger in a win that I thought was super impressive, and he's shown that he can hang with this welterweight power. Like I see nothing wrong in his 2 UFC losses submitted by Jalen Turner, submitted by Orlby. Like he's not on that level, but here's a 40-year-old Tim Means in front of him, and like
No, it's a good point.
and you know
Alex Morono has not looked good. Like that loss hasn't aged that well because Morono hasn't really been able to finish anybody.
yeah. And he was able to jump Gilly there. Now, you were trying to sell me on an angle that would never come across my model or come across my lens here. Medic has a couple of subs.
Medic by sub is 8-1. It's more just a play on the fact that Tim Means always gives that fucking neck up, bro.
He does.
Darce choke against Kevin Holland, guillotine against Morono, guillotine against Daniel Rodriguez. Like, come on.
And to add to your argument, I think he needs to wrestle in this fight. I think if Tim's game plan is to come in here and strike with Medic, he's going to go out quickly.
Bro, the number. And when you see a fucking knockout prop at minus 105, it just I mean, dude, Tim Means Matt Brown guillotined him.
Yep.
And bro, he gets submitted all the time.
Yep.
Like, I feel like I have to take this shit.
Yeah.
All right, so let me pull up his regional.
It's really weird to me that Medic is minus 160 inside the distance and he's minus 105 by knockout, because like that is I don't even know if that adds up properly, because minus 160, 61.5% implied, minus 105, 50 was. So they're saying about 15% of the time Medic is going to grab a sub here. Well, if that was true, you know, his sub line would be plus 570, but instead it's 8-1. So like, I feel like the inside the distance number is a ripoff. I'm just going to play knockout.
Yeah, I mean, Medic has 2 subs back at Alaska FC.
Yeah.
Both
Okay.
round one triangle chokes.
Triangle's not bad. Typically, I'm worried if I see a rear naked choke on the ledger because, like, I mean, you and I can sink in a rear naked choke. Like, it's more of like a white belt
Yeah,
type.
I was just hoping I saw like a guillotine,
Yeah, yeah,
because then it's like that really translates to how Tim Means gets finished.
yeah.
Um, but I think, bro, again, I just love taking guys that have submissions in their back pocket at a high number against a guy that's going to pressure, come forward, and maybe shoot takedowns.
Yeah.
What was the parlay I hit for? Was it the 46K or the 30? Hold on, it was the Matsumoto one, right? Like
Yep.
that was the second leg. It was plus 700. But like, I
Yeah.
just like the fact that Argueta is just a guy that's going to come forward and spam wrestling. And I
Yep.
was like, and obviously that's not really Tim Means, but like
Yeah.
we could see some of that, if he doesn't want to stand and strike too much.
Yeah. My only fear is just that Tim really hasn't. I mean, he's older, and he showed a couple of takedowns in that Morono fight, 3 in the Griffin fight. So, like, he's still shown that recently in his bag, and I think that keeps your dream alive there. It's just,
Yeah.
I as guys age, they tend to try not to wrestle. And number one, it's exhausting. Number two, your back and your knees aren't as good as they were when you were 30. Which
Yeah.
I'm learning every single day
No,
as I
no.
wake up.
Did he
But like,
has he shot it all recently?
what'd you say?
Has Tim Means shot any takedowns recently?
Yeah, like he landed both of attempts against Morono in that fight. That
And
what
he
was that?
shot three in the Max Griffin fight,
Yeah,
bro. Or he landed three.
and by the way, historically he's very efficient, and I think that's why I would rather hammer Medic knockout here than ever parlay his money line because like Medic had trouble defending Oral Bai's takedowns. I know it's a totally different style. Like before the
Yeah.
comments come for me, understandably so, but like Means has been very efficient, 42% accuracy on his takedowns. So like I could see. I did have a guy tell me he likes Means based on his wrestling efficiency this week. Like he joked on Twitter, Tim Means resurgence season. I had to see what was up, and
Yeah.
sure enough, he
And
told me
dude,
that.
Tim Means has some crazy good wins. Like
Yeah, he
he
does.
fucking outstruck Mike Perry 128-64. Like, how does that
Yep.
make any sense?
Yeah.
Then he beat Nicholas Dalby in 2021. Like those are two really good wins. Thiago Alves in 2019.
Yep.
I mean, if I had to pick a fighter in the money line, I'm going Tim Means here.
Okay.
Just because I can't lay minus 350 against him. He's a vet and he has good wins. And the Fiallo fight, it's a weird fight, bro. When he fights these good strikers on the feet, like dude, he was outstriking Alex Morono. He outstruck Max Griffin. He outstruck Fiallo 2-1, outstruck Mike Perry 2-1. Like you almost have to take Tim Means here on the money line.
Yeah, I mean, my model's doing the same where I only have Medic at minus 160. So, like, if you just boil it down to just that, then, but my brain is also telling me I don't like Tim Means Jin in a firefight, and I've got Medic an absurd, like, minus 130 to win by knockout. I just have very little submission or decision equity. By the way, we've never seen Medic win by decision in UFC. Like, he's kind of a killer be killed guy. I think Means will match that intensity with this fight. Minus 235 to not go the distance. So if it's a firefight, bro, Tim Means also not really a submission guy, which I don't think either of these guys are. And so you're telling me I get the 10-year younger fighter in a firefight who's super efficient and powerful himself. Like you look at the knockdown rates, it's not even close. Medic 2.8%, Means 0.8%. So like it's just I just have a hard time using my brain and separating that math when my model's saying like, hey, yeah, Tim Means probably wins more often than this money line says. But at the same time, Medic is a pretty heavy favorite to knock him out, and I think that's kind of what I'll play anecdotally.
Yeah,
So,
I get it.
yeah. So we'll move on. It was nice to at least dust off my bottle for a fight. We'll get back to it actually in a couple of these main card fights, including this next one up, which I'm really excited to talk about. It's a couple of featherweights rising best prospects. I think if you're like a week to week fight fan, this is probably the fight you have circled outside the main event, right? Jonathan Pearce taking on David Onama. Both these guys really well regarded prospects. You and I both talked about JSP in previous situations. David Onama surprised the heck out of me with that knockout win of Gabriel Santos in his last fight. We kind of thought Onama was a dead man walking there, but he ended up not being. What do you think with Jonathan Pearce minus 170 here, trying to rebound after that loss to Joe Anderson Brito?
Yeah, if I would play JSP here, um, I would take I would take him by decision.
Yeah,
Plus 220. I mean, it's the most likely outcome, but I'm not laying the juice here against Onama. I think Onama's a live dog here.
yeah, by
You know,
KO.
I would play Onama by KO or Pierce by decision.
Yeah. Odds makers are pretty distant on specific outcomes here. Pierce by points plus 220, Onama by KO plus 300. So they're willing to lay some plus money with those outcomes you talked about. Pierce, by the way, weird. I pulled before the show minus 170, already down to minus 154. So a little bit of money coming Onama's way. I don't really understand that, man. Like I parlayed Pierce at minus 160. It's surprising to me that he's moving that direction.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, so here's my general thesis with Onama is that he's had trouble defending takedowns, and I think JSP is one of the best wrestling threats here in all of featherweight. Like he landed a takedown, a lot of early control on Brito before the guillotine choke. I don't know if Onama's got that in his back pocket. Just one submission attempt against Garrett Armfield on 4 days' notice thus far in
Yeah.
UFC. Hey, the Gabriel Santos fight, Nate Landwehr, they landed 5 combined takedowns. Like, Santos was arguably
Radio
winning.
was in trouble in that fight till he
He
got this.
was.
Because I remember that I had him by sub in that fight, and I was like, it's dead in the water.
Yeah.
And he fucking pulls it out of nowhere, bro.
Yeah. And I just feel like a lot of this fight will be Onama on his back, with Pearce in control. We haven't seen a lot of submission tendency from JSP. 0.8 attempts per 15 minutes. Certainly is at a harder time securing finishes, and some of that might be level of competition. Like you look at who Jonathan Pearce has fought, it's low-key a murderer's row. Now, I know this is featherweight, but Brito, Darren Elkins, Makwana Mirkani's not an easy guy to sub. Christian Rodriguez, Kai Kamaka just got a win in PFL, so it's like it's really not awful guys that JSP's been
Christian
fighting.
Rodriguez is a good fight, is a good win.
It's a good win, yeah, especially since he's had success at featherweight since. Like, um,
I'm starting to really be sold on Pierce here, bro.
yeah, it's weird to me sub for Pearce's 5-1 when we really haven't seen that sort of data. I mean, he did get the sub of Omar Morales, so it is out there, decent volume. But like, I guess the question I got to ask myself: do I want to play Pearce by points plus 220, or do I want to play him inside the distance at plus 175? Because odds makers are telling you that's about half of the outcome. I think your initial read on points was a pretty good one. Like when I
I like
modeled
double chance, Pierce by sub or decision plus 115.
it's not bad. You're leaving ground and pound behind though. I've got this fight going the distance 54.2% of the time. I'm actually split from odds makers. They're expecting an early finish, minus 190 to not go the distance. So that might explain a little bit of why I see value on that decision number. Just in general, just doing the math, I've got decision at what is it? Plus 145. So plus 220 is good value for me. And I don't show value on Pearce to win at this current number. I've got it minus 140 to win.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to rewatch some footage on this fight for sure, but I'm starting to really lean towards Pierce pretty heavily.
yeah, it's just really tough when Onama's got a 45% takedown defense and he's taking down a guy in JSP that, like, if that Brito guillotine doesn't happen, probably wins that fight by points as well against another really good grappler. So I'm just a JSP guy. Like, what can I say? Maybe not in a lot of respects, but like as a fighter, I'm a JSP guy. But we'll move forward here. Got a couple of weird fights here on the main card at larger weight classes. This is the first of them. I can't wait to talk to you about this fight here. Jhonata Diniz taking on Austen Lane. It's on the main card. I'm guessing it's going to get slapped with the Dana White "if you know, now you know" label, because Diniz had that really impressive knockout on the Contender Series, taking on Austen Lane. Had that double, had the 2 fights. The sequel with Justin Tafa was realistically going to be finished in both of them, I think, just because Tafa is so powerful, seemed ahead in the striking. But Diniz comes over. He's another former Glory kickboxer. You and I bit by Alex Perez, UFC 300 a couple weeks ago. Here's another guy. Cesar Almeida, another one a couple weeks ago that had a win too. So Diniz is kind of the latest of this breed that we've seen come in. What do you think? What do you think about him as a minus 280 favorite here against Lane?
Bro, before we do that, so Uh, Nick Dice, but he's the podcast host of Veterans Minimum.
I I don't. I guess
He
I
does
need
a
to
lot of
start.
UFC. He texted me a few days ago. I never even saw his text till just now,
Yeah,
and he said that he said that Ivana has been at his gym training jiu-jitsu for 2 weeks, and said that he loves the submission. I didn't even see that text. Right, I
yeah.
posted a story of Ivana, the one I showed you with the rear naked choke, and he literally saw the story and messaged me. He said, "Dude, delete your text. I'm telling you, I might hammer this shit. I might hammer this bet, and then I'm sure she'll ground and pound her." But I'm telling you, bro, I might go big on it. I might go super big on it because when you think about it, Liana's so reckless, and
Yeah, she
she's just
is.
gonna give her back or go to the ground some way. It's gonna be crazy madness. She's gonna get choked out. I'm so
Dude,
confident now.
she landed Na Liang in her last fight landed 3 takedowns to 0 and was out controlled 5-1. How is that even possible? You get reversed immediately, dude. Like that's Na Liang. She's crazy, dude. But
I'm
I
gonna
like Pepper's stuff too. Okay, we're gonna hammer women's MMA inside the distance. What could possibly go wrong? But
yeah.
that's a cool. I by the way, I found Nick on Twitter. By the way, I dropped him a follow. So
Okay.
you're doing the
Yeah.
Lord's work to get us on the same page. But what do you think about Diniz Lade? Just so we can keep it moving.
Yeah. I hate this fucking fight, dude. I really do. I mean,
Does the under 1.5 feel free to you?
mm, I haven't watched a lot of footage on the knees, but
Okay,
Austin Lane sucks, bro.
agreed.
He's just athletic. He sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, when Greg Hardy knocks you out, Justin Taffa, you know, I can't give you my honest opinion on this fight. I don't know, but I kind of want to fade Austin Lane.
Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at, dude. Like, it's like we have a guy that had a really good glory kickboxing career in Diniz. He had over 15 wins there,
Minus
right?
190 by knockout.
Diniz is, yeah. I mean, like he can't grapple at all, so that's kind of the upside of this fight is you're just
Yeah.
choosing decision points. Under one and a
Yeah,
half
round
rounds.
one. I might play the round one, bro. It's fucking holy shit. Austin Lane round one knockouts 10-1.
Wow.
Um,
I honestly, I feel like that is his only chance to win. So the fact that
yeah,
is very telling.
but minus 110 in round one KO for Denise. I might play both those numbers, bro. I might go a full unit
Yeah.
on Denise round one KO and a quarter unit on Lane.
So if you maybe we'll get time fight to start round two is minus 176 to know. Doing some quick math there. I think you might come out ahead just betting both guys by knockout based on what's available because if you can't get a knockout round one prop, they're baking in a little bit of submission equity, which I don't even think is fair. We haven't seen
Yeah.
any pro submission attempts from Lane. We
Yeah, I
haven't
mean
seen any.
Austin Lane drops down to 7-1 if you take the round prop, and then Denise drops down to minus 125 if you take the round
It's
prop.
not. They just don't have it in their game. Like Diniz is not a submission guy whatsoever. Like I feel like Diniz is going to blink him in round one. I like minus 110 to me is not even that unfair. When we saw how last we saw it looked where Jamal Hill's a really good MMA striker taking
Yeah,
on an elite kickboxer. Now he's a guy that's not a good striker. Plus he's chinny against a guy in Diniz that is a great striker, and he really hasn't shown any durability issues in MMA or otherwise. Like he's undefeated in MMA. Like he's just durable, and the other guy isn't. To me, it's that simple.
yeah,
Um, and I think Diniz is going to blink him in round one.
I like it, bro.
Yeah, okay, I mean, we'll just move on. I got nothing more on that fight just because we don't know
No,
a whole lot
this
about
next one is super fucking interesting, though.
Dude, I wanted to ask you about this one because I feel like I'm on an island here. But
Yeah,
Karine Silva, Ariane Lipski inside the women's flyweight rankings. I think they did this well to put it on the main card. It's actually kind of a huge fight for the division. The way both of these ladies are surging. Silva has gone from an underdog. I know Jive got her plus money now to a minus 158 favorite. So big move in her direction. I feel like I'm on an island and I'm just hoping to be sold one way or another from you.
yeah. So, Show Me the Money podcast. Anyone that's watching, go check that out on YouTube. Me, Gilbert, and Moicano. Gilbert said Silva has been training her jiu-jitsu like crazy.
Sure.
He said that she can defend everything and she's looking great. Silva, though, is she's the female Shavkat Rakhmonov. Like every
And
fight she's won by finish, and it's like very 50-50 KO to sub. I think she has like a couple more subs or whatever it is.
okay.
Am I right on that?
I will double check.
Let me check that.
I was only looking at the UFC results, which are all submissions thus far.
So she's
But yeah,
17-4, and her topology shows. I mean, this girl's a killer, bro.
yeah,
8 wins by knockout, 9 by submission. That's literally like Shavkat.
yeah, it is.
Like, I want to look up Shavkat now just because I'm curious. Shavkat has fucking 8 wins by knockout, 10 by submission. That's crazy. Yeah. So it's like she's literally the female Shavkat, right? She doesn't go to distance at all. Here's my read on this fight.
Okay.
I think this is a classic ground and pound win for Silva. Because if what Gilbert's saying is accurate, and this chick is defending all these submissions, but Silva's just a killer, bro. She's going to be the more powerful chick. She's still going to get the fight to the ground. She's not going to be able to find the sub, and we're going to see a KO.
Yeah.
And the KO is plus 420. That's a good number. That's a really good number here for a girl that has 8 of her 17 wins by knockout.
Yeah.
Against a chick, and it's Ariane Lipski, by the way. What did I say earlier?
I thought you said Lipski.
Okay, maybe I did. Yeah. So Lipski, on the other hand, 4 losses by knockout, 0 by submission on her topology. Yeah. This plus 420 knockout has tremendous value in my eyes. Tremendous value. We see Lipski get starched in round 1 against Priscilla. We saw 2 times she gets ground and pounded back in 2021 and 2020. I just think that this KO prop is really mispriced at plus 420.
Yeah. I think interesting, dude. I honestly, I'm once again on an island here. I like the Lipski side in this fight. I feel like I am totally alone in that. I feel like a lot of you guys are suffering through what I've been through as I laid minus money on JJ Aldridge and Melissa Gatto and Casey O'Neill. The reality is Lipski's not bad on the ground anymore. Like, she started training with Amanda Nunes's camp. She defended all 7 takedowns from O'Neill. She defended all 8 from Gatto. JJ Aldridge in her takedown, she went 0 for 12. Like, she's really hard to get to the ground now, and she seems to be knowing what she's doing down there, given she just I think she got O'Neill with an armbar in her last fight, I want to say. She submitted her via armbar in the second round. Like, I made this mistake, bro, because I'm like, Lipski gets finished on the ground all the time. This girl has a history of doing it, and it's like she's just changed to me where I trust her ability to stay safe on the ground, and to me, she's a much better striker in this fight. That was what she came into UFC doing. She has the wins by knockout to prove it. Even if the striking success rate isn't very good, she was piecing up Casey O'Neill on the feet. She was piecing up Melissa Gatto on the feet. She won by decision there. Like, I think Karine Silva is a bad striker. I feel like her cardio is still a little bit questionable. We've never seen her outside the first round. Like, if Lipski can keep this fight standing and keep Silva off of her long enough to get tired, I think Ariane's going to win it. I like her at plus money, and I guess I'm still waiting for it to grow. Like, I just don't trust Karine more than I did Casey O'Neill in this situation, and Casey got flattened. I don't hate your angle from the perspective of, I feel like it's kind of well understood in circles that Silva is going to have a ground advantage in this fight. Why not go to TKO? Because number 1, she's shown that tendency. Number 2, she dropped Marina Moroz in her last fight. So she's got power in her hands too. So that's all baked into the knockout number. I don't disagree with your take there, but I kind of like Lipski to win this fight, and I feel like I'm all alone in that. So I'm not surprised that you like Silva.
Yeah, I could see if you play Lipski to play around 2-3, maybe.
Yeah, like that's what I mean. Like, playing more of an exhaustion angle. Maybe I will do that instead of hitting her money line, just because I don't think she's really got. I think round 1 is survival. I don't think it's win equity. So maybe I will, or maybe if I could get round 2-3 decision, somehow work that out with units. But that's a good call by you.
Yeah, I just think that if you're going to take Karine Silva here, I don't think the submission should be priced way less than the KO in this scenario.
I totally agree with you.
It doesn't make sense.
that you're exactly right. That's the exact same betting dynamic you and I have to navigate when we talk about Shavkat, bro. It's like, what was most
Right.
recent? What are his recent trends? What does the number look like? That's
Yeah,
exactly
and
what
look at the opponent. Never been submitted, but it's been TKO'd 4 times. Like,
yeah,
if anything, the numbers should be reversed here.
yeah.
Like, if anything, the submission prop should pay more than the KO.
Yeah, how good Lipski is on the ground is such an enigma to me because she got that near knee bar of Luana Carolina back in the day. Then she got finished by the bad Shevchenko sister. Like it was an enigma for me for a while. Almost makes you wonder if there was like mental demons upstairs or something. But ever since she's hooked up with Nunes, I remember it against the Aldridge fight. I got burned parlaying JJ Aldridge that week where I thought Lipski had no shot to defend takedowns. I was
Mhm.
dead wrong, and she has defended 27 of them since then. So like, I mean. I think there's a really good sample she's going to resist Karine Silva there, and I can't
Yeah.
wait. If Karine goes into deeper waters, still able to find a later finish, I think that only does her favors as far as arguments about legitimacy. We had the same type of fight with Shavkat against like a guy like Jeff Neal, right? We were like, what happens when he gets prolonged against a guy that can match his physicality, that has good takedown defense? And it's funny, Lipski, analytically at least, looks a little bit like a Jeff Neal. Really good takedown defense, really decent striking defense, a lot of wins by knockout and decent power. So, interesting, dude. That Shavkat comp it made my afternoon. You gave me a lot more to chew on with this fight.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm starting
So,
to really like a few plays on this card, dude. Like,
yeah, I
uh,
think it's a better betting card than it is like to watch as a fan. Like, I think there is.
this is the perfect exact outcome betting card, not money line. Like,
Yes.
there's so many scenarios where it's just so. Like, even in this next fight, I want to hear your opinion here
Yeah.
in the comment.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about this next one with you because I have a very strong lean in it. Ryan Spann taking on Bogdan Guskov at light heavyweight. Guskov returning to the rankings, got the knockout of Zach Pauga earlier this year. Ryan Spann fight against Nikita Krylov didn't go his way, lost the decision to Anthony Smith, so sliding back the rankings a little bit. Will Spann be able to hold his number, or will Guskov take it? Is the question here. Curious who you like to win, and maybe more specifically, it sounds like you're looking at an outcome, so I kind of want to hear what it is.
Yeah, so Ryan Spann by KO is plus 220 and by sub is plus 220. So there's another one where it's like, it's just very strange because I think Ryan Spann is the more experienced guy. I think I can never trust his fight IQ. I think he should have had a round one finish in that Anthony Smith fight and he fucked it up. I was on that I think I was on the 1-2 for him I can't remember, but I lost that bet. The Nikita Krylov fight, again, he in all of these fights, he has these scenarios where he's seconds away from winning.
Yep.
He was about to win by submission against Nikita Krylov, then he gets submitted. He was about to win by knockout against Anthony Smith, then he loses a split decision.
Yep.
I love this dude's guillotine though, but I don't think Guskov's got a guy that's going to shoot, right? So that's the challenge. And immediate lean and thought when I first saw this fight is, I love Ryan Spann by submission here.
Yeah.
Because we saw Oezdemir get the sub against Bogdan in his debut.
Yep.
But that was like a really one-sided fight, 26-8 on the feet in the striking exchanges. And then Zach Pauga, who gives a shit about that win, bro?
Terrible.
Yeah.
Pauga's terrible.
I do think he has been training with the right guys. I saw him training with Anthony Smith. Did you see that?
They're doppelgangers, bro. They look exactly alike.
Yeah. So I'm sure he's improving, and I think Ryan Spann has probably hit his peak, and his IQ is always the worst.
Yeah.
So I'm struggling with this fight. My initial lean was I think Spann's going to be the way better grappler.
Yeah.
And we'll have a chance at it, but I really don't like the number, honestly. Plus 220. It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I think I'm just going to play Spann round 1 plus 140, round 2 plus 700, bro. If you're going to give me plus money on both of those, I don't think Guskov can hang very long with him, given that I think Spann is both more powerful and a more lethal grappling threat than Oezdemir was.
Now, this is another fight you referred to being opposite of Clint.
yeah, like he likes Guskov.
Bro. I'm with you.
I don't see it. I don't see it when you watch.
Ryan Spann's a monster, bro. He just has a stupid fight IQ, but that dude is a fucking freak.
Yeah. I put in our Homofied Discord. By the way, I'm just popping thoughts in the Discord. If you join the Maddie's Homofied Discord channel, I said I think he's like a top 5 guy in UFC that needs a different camp. He's a Fortis MMA guy. I'd love to see him at like Extreme Couture with Eric Nixick, or even one of those South Florida gyms like your guy, like Gilbert Burns down there in Florida. Like I feel like a gym change would benefit him so tremendously,
I
because
like that.
I think it is the IQ, bro. I think it is the IQ and the decision making, but
He's
I
a
feel like
freak.
yeah,
6'5", 205, 79-inch reach, power, submission ability. Like,
yeah.
I don't get it, bro.
Can I try to resell you on sub here? Because the thing that I've noticed about Spann, he very much is willing to play into the weakness of his opponent. When you think about what Iwan Cutelaba struggles with, it's getting submitted. He submitted him. You think about what Dominic Reyes has trouble with his chin. He knocked him out. Misha Serkinov, chin issues, knocked him out. Devin Clark has submission issues, submitted him. Spann in his own way is a weakness hunter. I don't think it's because it's his brain.
That's a good fucking read, bro.
Yeah, and Guskov, in my opinion, allegedly he has a brown belt. I don't know why he wouldn't have shot a takedown against Zalpauga if he did, but I think trading with Guskov would be probably the least likely way to win, given that he's got power, he's got a lot of experience professionally in Europe. I feel like where he's got his biggest advantage here is with his front chokes, his guillotines. Maybe it's a club and sub scenario. Now I will just play. I'm kind of on the fence like you, so again, I think I'm just going to play round 1, 2. But if I had a lean, if you're making me pick one, he tends to hunt weaknesses, and to me, that is Guskov's grappling. So I would pick submission.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I'm with you, bro. I just was praying it was a better number than the KO prop.
And I've never seen this, bro, where both outcomes round 1 plus 380, both outcomes round 2 plus 1400, both of them round 3 plus 25.
Honestly, how does this fight get past round 1, bro? Because these guys aren't gonna like wrestle. Like if Spann gets a takedown, he's going for submissions. And
he's gonna sub him.
Yeah, and like they're gonna be swinging. I mean, I kind of just want. I love the round 1. The round 1 subs plus 380. Round 1 KOs plus 380. I might just throw a half unit on each of those, or just play the round 1. I guess I don't know.
Dude, honestly, Guskov and like I wish Clint had asked first, because like Guskov smells like a fraud to me. When I think Pauga, one of the worst light heavyweights on the roster, he did beat him via knockout quickly. Uzdemir in the rankings had his way with him in both realms. Like he was kicking his ass on the feet and then he submitted him. I feel like Guskov is not a ranked guy, and here he is fighting another ranked guy. I just feel like Spann is levels above him, even though I have my concerns. I felt this way with Spann against Cutelaba, and I ended up being correct. You and I both like Brian Spann in general. I don't love Fortis. I don't love his IQ.
I don't love his money line at minus 210, but I'm definitely thinking the finishes.
I parlayed it when it was minus 185, I think. So like I got a better number than this, but honestly, that was just degenerate stuff because I didn't need to grab his money line. He doesn't have much decision equity. Neither of these guys do. So,
bro, I have something I like in this main event, and I just started liking it.
I have a lean too, and so did my model. Really told me a lot about both of these guys. Now, is this a great UFC main event? No, it is not, but this is still a really good fight in a main event, and I'm glad it's 5 rounds between Matheus Nicolau, Alex Perez. Really going to help kind of order out the line a little bit at men's flyweight. Obviously, my guy Steve Erceg, have a future on him, 45-1, be an end-of-the-year champion.
Bro, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
We need to remind Brad and them to pull that clip. We need that clip.
Okay. Yeah, we'll pull that clip.
Don't you have a clip when you announce it, or is it a post?
I can't post a slip just because it's not my employer.
No, I'm saying, didn't we do a show where at the end of the show you announced that play?
Oh, okay. Yeah. I
remember the show was at the beginning of the year?
Yes, it was the very first show of the year.
Yeah, we got to go pull that clip because that's insane, bro.
Yeah, we will. I also had Santini in there. Now, my guy Azamat Mirzakhanov, I think, is in Cancun. So
you got to send me that clip, too.
I will. But, like, I honestly, I have one on Nicolau as well here in this main event. That said, I don't think it's a guarantee that he wins this week against Alex Perez. Intriguing stylistic fight.
The way this division is,
who knows?
You just need a good finish here.
Yeah, I mean, like, who knows? It could be all over the place, right? So, what are you thinking? What's your lean here in this guy between Nicolau?
Matheus Nicolau by submission, bro. It's fucking scary how many submissions I like on this card. There are so many. So right now, this is a guy like Karine Silva, 5-5, 5 knockouts, 5 submissions, no submissions in the UFC. But he's got a Darce choke. He's got some jiu-jitsu in his back pocket. He has a fucking Japanese necktie. Do you even know what that is?
No.
He has a Japanese necktie submission against Bruno Correa in 2015. He has a rear naked choke in 2015. He has this shit in his back pocket. And again, Alex Perez, durable guy against the striking.
Yep.
He's a guy that's only been knocked out once in his career. 5 submission losses, 2 decision losses. The best path to victory against Alex Perez is to submit him. Figgy did it in round 1. Pantoja did it in round 1. I think Nicolau can do it in maybe round 2. I don't know it's going to be as easy. I don't think his level of jiu-jitsu and submission abilities are as good as like Figgy or Pantoja, obviously, but I think he has them in his pocket. And I think he can find it in this fight. I think it's a perfect matchup. It's like I said, it's fucking scary how many submissions could be on this card.
Yeah.
There's just so many mismatches in the grappling department, I feel like, in this card in general.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you the way Perez was quickly subbed by Figgy, like you said, and Pantoja. That said, my main play here that I had written down, I like Nicolau inside the distance plus 140, so it goes right hand in hand. You were not rooting against each other there, where really the lean that I have in this fight is violence. And men's flyweight, it has more finishes than you would expect. I've got this fight 65.6% likely to not go the distance. Nicolau, I've got him winning inside the distance about plus 155. Also showing value on Perez there, but like in general, I feel like Perez was not super impressive in that Muhammad Mokaev fight. Now, I think many were impressed that he wasn't submitted and finished in that fight, but like Mokaev was dropping to his knees. Perez wasn't able to really land very much in by way of striking offense to like help him actually win the rounds. Like it felt like he was surviving the entire time. Whereas the thing with Nicolau, like you mentioned, I don't hate sub at all. 0.9 attempts per 15 minutes, and a lot of them in UFC. 2.16% knockdown rate is huge as far as a knockout potential here. So,
Perez, that's why I like it even more, right? Because Perez only knocked out once. Like his chin's good, and the club that gives you the club and sub opportunity too.
Yep, agreed. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Like that's why I'm leaning more inside the distance, is because like I think Perez is also very durable on his feet, so I don't know what a knockout, like I don't think it would be like a one punch and go type of thing, but maybe he gets caught in a grappling exchange. Nicolau floored Matt Schnell twice, bro. Like he has legitimate power for this division, like right there with Ursig. There's a reason I bet him to be the champ. Like I'm not showing it on value on him to win. That's not overly surprising, especially as he balloons toward minus 200. But like I under 4.5 rounds here is minus 140 on FanDuel. I never like to point you away from my employer, but you can get a better number than that elsewhere. I guarantee that. And then Nicolau inside the distance plus 140, Perez inside the distance, I think is a good play. Like I just like violence here. And when I'm looking on paper at who's got more tools to finish this fight in a way that's meaningful, like Alex Perez's last finish came via leg kicks. Do I really think he's going to get Nicolau out of there with leg kicks? I don't. And by the way, this is the first 5-rounder for both of these guys. Well, technically Perez fought in a 5-rounder against Figgy. It just lasted 3 minutes. So cardio could be a question for both guys. Really like the under 4.5 rounds here, and I do like Nicolau inside the distance.
Yeah, I forget what the number was on the sub, but it makes me like it even more. I'm like blanking out that this is a 5-round fight.
Yeah, and like
it's only plus 300, bro.
Yeah,
that's crazy. The knockout 230.
Knockout equity tends to fade in these lower weight classes as the fight progresses, meaning that there aren't a lot of 3rd-round TKOs at flyweight. It's usually subs if you see late finishes at flyweight, only adding further to your point.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, bro.
I mean, you and I made it through this card. It sounds like we're aligned on a lot, dude. Maybe a little bit.
I'm feeling a massive long shot day for me, bro. You know what I might honestly do?
Yeah.
I might do 3 different parlays that all have 2 fighters by sub different ways.
Wow.
There's so many subs that I like, bro. It's kind of sick.
Yeah,
there's
so I mean,
long shot ones, and then there's some shorter ones. And I think the way I'll do it is I'll have a short sub parlayed with a long sub as one leg, a short sub parlayed with a long sub, and then a short sub parlayed with a long sub.
Nice.
Dude, there's so many, like there's Ivana.
Yep.
There's Caio.
Yep.
There's Yaya, maybe. There's Medic, maybe. There's JSP, maybe. There's the Karine Silva, actually, like the knockout. There's Ryan Spann. There's Nicolau. There's just so many options.
Yeah. Oh, what could possibly go wrong when only 19% of UFC fights end by submission? But like, yeah, I think there are a lot of mismatches, especially like you said in those grappling realms, like this week in particular. So
Yeah.
could be a week where we're much higher than usual trends on those type of things. This is not normal UFC. It's much less experience. Like we see that in PFL, right, all the time, where there's just these random early finishes or these unexpected outcomes because the data isn't as good. So we see that all the time. So Maddie, what you and I need to get the fine folks on their way here, we're going to do an official show parlay, which unfortunately died on its last leg last time out. Pereira Hill over 1.5. Alex had to get Herb Dean out of the way and ruin that for us. Did not guess that one. Also, we're going to build a fun one like we always do with more of a long shot type of prop. So for our main parlay, what are you thinking here as far as we start to build 2, 3, 4 legs into this guy? I think Ivana sub is an interesting one, bro.
Which
And
one?
Ivana sub, and if we want to go longer, maybe
done.
Ivana.
Yeah,
Okay.
done. That one's
So
done.
we're
I
starting
think we
plus.
go Ivana by sub. I think we go Caio money line.
I like that.
And then I think we go I'm down to go Diniz round 1.
Who? Oh, Diniz round 1. Yeah,
round
yeah.
1.
What about just that fight to not start round 2 at minus 176?
I'm with it. Yeah, I like that.
Just because we're already at plus 442. So that parlay, Petrovic sub, Machado, fight to not start round 2 is plus 750. On the dot.
Done.
It's meant to be. I think so too. I think that's our official show parlay. Ivana
or
Petrovic.
do we go the Ryan Spann fight not to get the round 2? Which one do you like better?
Would that be in lieu of Ivana or
No, in lieu of the Diniz fight.
No, I'd rather go. I honestly, dude, I think Lane either chins him or gets chinned. I think I feel better about that one. So we'll leave it as is. So Petrovic sub plus 190, Kyle Machado money line right now minus 115, and then the fight to not start round 2 in Austen Lane, Jhonata Diniz minus 176. Put those together plus 750 payout on FanDuel. So Maddie, we gave them a conservative one. Let's do one exact outcome each here. See if we can get this guy over 51. Just a little fun long shot to see if we can build something here. What's your favorite long shot on the card?
Let me look.
Yeah, it's an interesting week for like long shots.
Yeah. I'm going to say, let's see. I'm going to say, you said long shot. I'm going to go. I'm going to go Caio sub.
Okay.
Plus 800, I think it is.
Okay. Let me take a look. What I want to do here. I don't have to go as long if you're going to do a 9-1 one.
8 to 1, I think it was, but yeah.
Plus 950, bro. Even better.
If we're gonna put two plus money plays in a lay, then I'm just gonna go Matheus Nicolau by sub plus 300.
I like knockout there though. I like that equity. Here's what I was gonna recommend. Either
no. Karine Silva by knockout, bro. Let me play that one. Or no, you're on the other side there too.
Yeah. I like here I was gonna talk to you maybe about Jonathan Pearce by points. But you might like the sub there.
No, my initial read was by points, but
yeah.
I think he does go for that. He just goes for the control time and fucking relentlessness. I don't hate that.
I'm taking a look. Maybe I can because I don't want a ton of like straight exposure. What about Ketlin Souza inside the distance either way? Plus 250. Mann is tough, but I also think she's really bad.
I'm cool with that.
Cool. That pays 36 to 1. Pays 36 to 1, those two together. Caio by sub and Ketlin inside the distance.
Yeah, that's fucking wild. I mean, we don't even need. Yours could be even more conservative then. If we're putting the Caio by sub in there, you could just take a money line on a fighter.
Yeah, no, but I like doing a specific outcome. I guess you
Yeah,
know what? You know what? Mom didn't raise no bitch. I'm going Ketian Souza by knockout specifically, plus 390. That
I
puts
like
us at
that. I like that.
50 to 1. 50 to 1.
Yeah,
I'm not taking the sub.
but do you think I should just? I could almost put Ivana by sub in that one too.
Well, we got it in the other one, so if
I
it
know,
doesn't
I
hit, then
know.
both
But
will
Kaya
hit.
is
So
just such a long shot, you know.
I mean, that's what this fun one is for, though. Like, we want the fun long
Yeah,
shot.
yeah.
You
All right, let's
texted me
do it.
that today. It's on
Let's
your
do
gut,
it.
so let's do it. Kyle Machado by submission plus 950. Ketian Souza by knockout plus 390. Put those together, it is a 50 to 1 payout on FanDuel. A little bit of fun, of course. Do that responsibly when we're talking 50 to 1. But hey, Maddie's going to put a band on it and see if he can become a thousandaire once again. I'm sure when we get to Saturday. So once again, recap: we have a plus 750 parlay, Ivana Petrovic by sub, Kyle Machado money line, as well as Diniz lane to not start round 2, and then the fun parlay: Kyle Machado submission, Ketian Souza by knockout plus 390, pays over 50 to 1. Maddie, for a bad card, we didn't do so bad. It was a pretty fun show. Had a good time, and I think we have more fun times ahead. I want to say there's a pay per view. There is a pay per view next week. It is in Brazil. Pantoja Ursig. Will make sure to get me clipped and my futures bet on Ursig. By the way, I got thumbs down and boos in the
Send me that
comments.
slip, bro. Send me
I,
that slip.
I
I want
will,
to
bro.
tell you.
Can we put the chat hate on there as well? Like pop it up and make the chat hate show up because they were all over me for Ursig. They're like, "What are you doing putting
Yeah,
Silva?" Parlay, but
100%.
I
100%.
believed in Astro Boy. We'll see if he can actually get it. He's got to win that fight.
Send
So let's,
Brad in the Telegram. Send him a link to the episode, and
I
he'll do
will.
it.
I will. So we'll get that taken care of. Thanks so much for joining us, guys. As usual, you can find me on Twitter at ASWAIM3, ASWAIM3. My full fight by fight breakdown on FanDuel Research's UFC page, FanDuel.com/research/UFC on Friday. Maddie, your card dropping in the Home of Fight Discord and social media Friday night per usual.
Yeah, Friday night.
Okay, so Friday night, that's where you can find Maddie. You can find both of us on that Home of Fight Discord channel as well if you want all of our bets as we put them in. That's good stuff too. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We'll see you next week to preview UFC 301. Until then, hope all your bets cash.